The real history has no heroes. Only survivors. If you want to dive deeper into the gritty, unfiltered truth of history's most ruthless syndicates without the Hollywood lies, hit the subscribe button. Now, tell me in the comments, if you were locked in a Victorian prison cell for 18 months, what would keep you from breaking? Let me know, and I'll see you in the next chapter. By 1910, the world you knew is dying. The local police are replaced by a massive, militarized force. The street markets are being taken over by large, corporate syndicates from London. And an even bigger monster is brewing across the ocean, the shadow of a world war. Out of the 9 boys who stood with you at the gasworks, 4 will die in the muddy trenches of the Somme in 1916. 2 will die of tuberculosis inside the cold walls of Winson Green. 1 will flee to America, only to be shot in a New York alleyway. And you survived. You were smart enough to take your money out of the dirt and put it into bricks and mortar. You bought a legitimate scrap metal yard and a few rental houses. You traded the silk scarf for a stiff white collar. You have a wife who never asks about the old trunk in the attic, and children who think their father is just a quiet, strict, boring businessman. But sometimes, when the winter rain beats against the glass, your old broken knuckles begin to ache. You look into the fire, and you realize the truth. The crime life isn't a glamorous movie. It's a continuous, exhausting calculation of survival where every win is temporary, and the price is always paid in full, not in cash, but in the ghosts that sit with you in the dark until you die. October 1899. You return to a city that's changing. The Cheapside gang thinks your time in prison made you soft. They've taken over your best betting pitches at the Aston racecourse. Your older brother wants to negotiate. You tell him, the streets don't respect a diplomat. They respect a cemetery. The confrontation happens behind the saltley gasworks at dawn. The air is so thick with industrial fog you can barely see 5 feet ahead. There are 14 of them, led by a brute named Billy Carey. There are only 9 of you. Billy doesn't want to talk. He steps forward with a heavy wooden club studded with nails. He thinks numbers win wars. He doesn't know you've spent 18 months calculating every move in a silent cell. You don't wait for him to swing. You give the signal. Your boys don't rush in a chaotic mob, they split into pairs, utilizing the narrow brick alleys to isolate Carey's men. You step directly into Billy's path. As he raises the club, you drop your weight and lunged forward, not with your fists, but with your feet. Your boots are modified, the toes are capped with heavy iron plates. A brutal kick straight to his knee shattered his joint. As he collapses, your hand flashes up. The brim of your flat cap slices across his forehead. Instantly, Carey is blinded by his own blood. The rest of his gang sees their giant leader screaming on the wet cobblestones, clutching his face. The illusion of their dominance vanishes. Within 3 minutes, the Cheapside gang is running for their lives through the fog. You stand over Billy, your boots stained with mud and blood, and you drop a single shilling onto his chest. For the doctor, you whisper. You didn't just win a territory. You created a legend that will keep rival gangs away for the next 5 years. But arrogance has a price. In the winter of 1897, a routine shakedown goes wrong. A crooked cop you forgot to pay tips off a fresh, uncorrupted detective. You are cornered in a pub, holding a bag of stolen racecourse money. You don't run, running gets you shot in the back. Welcome to Winson Green Prison. A Victorian hell designed to break a man's soul. The system here is called separate and silent. You spend 23 hours a day in a stone cell, 6 feet by 10. You are forbidden to speak. To look at another inmate. Even during chapel or exercise, you wear a brown cloth mask with eye holes. The silence is deafening. It drives weaker men insane within months. Your daily routine. The treadwheel. You stand in a wooden stall, climbing massive iron wool paddles for 6 hours straight, just to pump water for the city or grind grain. Your muscles scream, your feet bleed into your boots. If you slow down, the guard's leather strap finds your back, but you don't break. Why? Because you realize prison isn't the end, it's just another market. You notice the guards are poorly paid. By month 2, using the last of your hidden street money through your brother on the outside, you bribe a warden to smuggle in tobacco. In here, tobacco is gold. You don't smoke it, you trade it for extra bread, a cleaner blanket, and information. When you walk out of those iron gates after 18 months, you aren't reformed. You are smarter, colder, and twice as dangerous. Historians in the future will argue about your hat. They will say razor blades were too expensive in 1890 to be sewn into caps. They will say it's a myth. They don't understand the psychology of the streets. You don't use the blade to kill. A dead body brings the Scotland Yard. You use the blade to blind. A quick slash across the forehead. The blood pours instantly into your opponent's eyes, blinding him in seconds. But your main weapon isn't the steel. It's the style. You wear a silk scarf wrapped twice around your neck. A bell-bottom trousers. A heavy wool jacket. In a city where everyone wears gray rags, your outfit screams status. It tells the shopkeeper, the policeman, and the rival gang exactly who you are without you saying a single word. Your presence is the threat. Let's look at the math. If you work 60 hours a week at the BSA factory, you earn barely enough to buy stale bread and rotgut gin. Honest labor in the slums is just a slow, painful suicide. But if you are a peaky blinder, you don't sell your time. You sell protection. Your gang controls 3 street markets, 5 illegal gambling dens, and every bookmaker from Darrowton to Aston. When you were 12, a local bully took your mother's last loaf of bread. The next day, you didn't talk. You wrapped a heavy iron bolt in a handkerchief and hit him from behind. Lesson number 1, never fight fair. Fighting fair is for those who can afford to lose. By 15, you joined the sloggers. You learned to read a man not by his words, but by his stance. How he balances his weight. Where his eyes dart when he gets nervous. It's a skill that will save your life more times than any weapon. Forget the Hollywood glamour. Forget the slow-motion walks in expensive tailored coats with a rock and roll soundtrack. You are not a television anti-hero. You are a 19-year-old kid from the slums of Small Heath, Birmingham. It's 1895. The air tastes like cheap coal, sulfur, and stagnant water. Your hands are stained with grease from the steel mills, and your stomach is constantly empty. To the wealthy elite, you are garbage. But to the streets of Birmingham, you are the law. And your law is carved with steel. Forget the Hollywood glamour. Forget the slow-motion walks in expensive tailored coats with a rock and roll soundtrack. You are not a television anti-hero. You are a 19-year-old kid from the slums of Small Heath, Birmingham. It's 1895. The air tastes like cheap coal, sulfur, and stagnant water. Your hands are stained with grease from the steel mills, and your stomach is constantly empty. To the wealthy elite, you are garbage. But to the streets of Birmingham, you are the law. And your law is carved with steel.